the people that turn into prison professors are really going through difficult or challenging times. They're either facing a criminal investigation, they're facing a sentencing hearing, they're on their way into prison and Googling information on what is it going to be like. Or for many, more than 100,000 people, they're inside of a jail or a prison right now. And it's really crucial for me, as somebody who went through 9,500 days in prison, it's crucial that I help people understand how relevant the decisions that a person is making today are to the future that they're going to live months, years, and decades into the future. Not everybody can really see with that level of clarity at the start of the journey. At the start of the journey, the only thing they're seeing is the pain, right? The separation from loved ones, the fear of going into the system. But the reality is we can always start sowing seeds for something better. That's something that I learned from people that are far smarter than I will ever be, starting when I read the book of Socrates. And if you haven't seen it already, I recommend that you download a copy of our book, Earning Freedom, Conquering a 45-Year Sentence, because you're going to learn how those leaders really tell us the secret we need to know of how to emerge through struggle with our dignity intact and with new opportunities, how we can restore confidence even if we're going through a challenging time. I can think back today is June the 19th on a Saturday morning in 2021. And I can think about where I was 18 years ago today. And the reason it's so clear to me 18 years ago today is because that was just a couple of days before I got married inside of a federal prison in Fort Dix, New Jersey in the year 2003. Now, that was a plan that resulted from me learning from somebody else, somebody who had gone through prison. I still remember when I was like in the third or fourth year of my prison term. I mean, I had a 45-year sentence, and I was inside of the United States Penitentiary in Atlanta, a high security penitentiary. And I remember sitting in like a printing room. And when I was in that printing room, I had a job in there, and I was working in there with a guy by the name of Eugene Fisher. Gene Fisher was serving a life sentence inside of the penitentiary. He was much older than I was. At the time, I was probably 25 years old. And he was probably 50, maybe 55 years old. And he'd been in jail already for 10 years or so. And crazy enough, he was serving time for a marijuana conviction, a crime that what was a crime then is now legal today in America. But Gene took a liking to me. I was young. He empathized with a guy doing a very long sentence. And he told me the story of a guy, and I don't remember his name. It was an Italian or a Greek guy who got married while he was in prison. The guy was a race car driver, and he married a journalist. And I remember sitting in prison being afraid that I would never, everything that would be missing in my life, getting married, doing business, having my honor intact. And here Gene told me, he says, no, prison doesn't have to be that way. And this guy was serving a life sentence. And he said, you can find ways to create meaning and relevance out of nothing. And he told me, said, for example, this guy, and I think he told me the name of the book, it was called The Man. And this was the story. And I think he was like a Greek revolutionary or an Italian revolutionary who was also a race car driver. He fell in love with a journalist while he was serving a life sentence in prison. And the journalist helped him get out of prison. I don't remember their names. I know I wrote about them in the book, Earning Freedom. But what I really remember about it is how it inspired me. When he told me about a guy getting married in prison, it just completely, disrupted my mindset. I thought, wow, how could I do that? How could I find a woman to come into my life while I'm locked inside of a prison? And that thought that maybe I could do something like that really inspired me to want to become better. It inspired me to want to learn more, to learn how to communicate better, to learn how to transcend prison walls so that I could build something that might attract the kind of people I wanted to meet into my life. And that was, like I said, when I was about 25. And then I went through, many years in prison and transformed my life by reading and writing and learning from leaders like Nelson Mandela, who'd gone through 27 years in prison, or Malcolm X, who transformed his life from inside of a jail cell, or Viktor Frankl, who I wouldn't say he transformed his life, but because of the way he thought, while he was in a concentration camp, never knowing whether he was going to live or die, he developed an entire philosophy about confronting struggle and building meaning. And you do that by helping others reach their highest potential. You do that by not thinking about yourself, but rather thinking about the community in which you live and how can I bring value to that community. If you change your mind that way, you start to change the way you look at the world. You start to accept that I've got to live in the world as it exists and not as I want it to be. And that mindset can strengthen us. It can help us grow character. It can help us restore confidence. It can help us become something more than what other people say we can become. So while other people are saying life is going to fall apart, you start to figure out, well, how do I build a new life? A life of relevance and contribution and meaning and dignity. And that pathway is what led to me earning academic credentials, to me developing relationships with mentors, to developing relationships with publishers, to becoming an author from inside of a federal prison, to having my books distributed to universities, to having students read those books in universities, to having those students read the stories that I wrote or the experiences that I described or the challenges I had to work through. And that led to them writing to a place that made the connection to Carol. And I remember that happened in like 2002 when she came into my life. I was probably, I guess I would have been in my like 15th year of imprisonment, maybe 16th year of imprisonment. I went in 87. It was 2002 when Carol and I started our relationship. It led to a correspondence, a friendship, a romance, and we got married inside of a federal prison, just as I was inspired to do by that story that Eugene Fisher had told me decades before. And if you're going through a challenge right now, I want you to have that same experience, to believe in yourself, to know that you can become something far more than the difficulties you're enduring right now. You can sow seeds today that will influence maybe the U.S. attorney, maybe a probation officer, maybe a federal judge, maybe a case manager that you're going to meet in federal prison, maybe a probation officer that you're going to meet on the other side of the journey, maybe an employer or somebody to do business with you on the other side of the journey, maybe a financial institution that will open new credit facilities for you. These are experiences that I can talk about because I went through them, and I can show you the path. I can't walk the path for you, but I can definitely show you the path. And the people on our team can definitely show you the path. We have people like Sam Mangel, who had a 60-month sentence, but because he followed this path, he got out in 22 months. And he's our head of sales right now and a lead consultant with us. We've got people like Larry, who's a graduate of Columbia Law School, that had a 10-year sentence and yet came back with a real story to tell about how to get best policies, best practices. He wrote books in prison. He built courses in prison. He wrote articles in prison. He learned a great deal. And now we're really fortunate that he's working with our team. We've got Francis, a former lawyer and CPA who has 30 years plus experience in business community, who understands white collar crime and understands the collateral consequences that come with a white collar crime. We have Mike, a former criminal defense attorney for 20 years, who's got extraordinary experience in helping people understand what seeds can I sow to do better. And we have my partner, Justin Paperny, who's really like the ambassador for all of our things. Because when we met, Justin was, well, just like many of the people on our program. He was lost inside of an institution, not knowing what's going to come. But through seeing a better future. He could sow seeds for a better future. He could nurture those seeds for a better future. He could build something to have a bigger influence on society that will help more people. And that's really what we're about. We're about building products and services to help anybody who's a viewer of the Prison Professors program reach their highest potential, believe that they can become something more. I'm Michael Santos with Prison Professors, and on behalf of our entire team, I want to thank you for being a part of our community. And we want to help you reach your highest potential. So we encourage you, if you're watching this outside, subscribe to the program, ring the bell so you get notified when we're publishing new content. And if you're watching this inside of a jail or prison, we hope that you will go through our courses, you will read our books, you will have your family collaborate with you and work through the Prison Professors YouTube channel or website and just consume the material, because maybe this material will give you the same influence that Eugene Fisher gave to me and will give you hope and help you put yourself on a path where maybe you can find that the best life is ahead of you. Today, in about a few days, I'm going to celebrate my 18th wedding anniversary that all started inside of a federal prison. And that all started because in 1989 or something like that, inside of the United States Penitentiary in Atlanta, before Carol ever thought of me, somebody was telling me this is possible. It's possible for you as well. I'm Michael Santos with Prison Professors. I want to thank you for being a member of our community and wish you a great Saturday. I'm going to run in Laguna Niguel today in a new place that I've never experienced before. Maybe I'll take a selfie or something to kind of show you that this awesome new park I'm going to experience. Thanks so much. Please subscribe.